Welcome again, everyone, to this Rockville Election 2023 Candidate Forum. As already mentioned, the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County, as well as Montgomery College, have collaborated in putting together this event, sponsored by the City of Rockville. And we are broadcasting live from the Rockville Senior Center on Rockville Channel 11. I'm Tiffany Copeland. I'm your moderator for this event, and I'm also a media professor at Montgomery College. The League is a nonpartisan political organization that does not support any particular candidate. The League of Women Voters is over 100 years old, older than most of us in this room today. And it has been dedicated to creating a better democracy since the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. The Women's Suffrage Amendment was ratified in 1920. And before then, African American males were not allowed to vote until the 15th Amendment. So let us exercise our right to vote, which so many people of our past have fought for. Now, the League believes that voting is a right as well as a responsibility. The League supports a participatory democracy, and the League ensures that voters in our community are informed and empowered citizens. So it is our pleasure to bring the college of our county, Montgomery College, and the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County together in this shared commitment towards American democracy. As well as your active participation in the City of Rockville 2023 election, because of course, your vote matters. So here is our layout for today's forum. 12 candidates are present. 2 are running for mayor, and in the front, you see that we have our city council, the candidates that are running for a city council seat. Now, we will present questions from our members of the audience who are invited to ask questions and to submit those questions on cards that look like this. We're asking for you to submit this pretty soon. There should be volunteers walking around who will collect these cards. Also, the League, as well as Montgomery College students, faculty, and staff will also be submitting their own questions as well. We apologize in advance because we cannot get to all the questions. We actually have our screeners here as well screening through the questions. Now, let's let you know a bit more about today's session. Now, our council candidates who are right here will have a total of 60 minutes on the floor. The mayoral candidates will have 30 minutes. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to answer each question. So we also have a timekeeper in the front row. And if that timekeeper can lift their 15-second sign, they're going to lift that 15-second sign when they only have 15 seconds left. Yes, we are prepared for talking a little bit too much. And he will also lift the stop sign to indicate that it's time to end, okay? Wherever you're at in that sentence, but you can finish your sentence and then we will continue from there. So after everyone and all of the candidates answer all of the questions, they will then give a 1-minute closing speech. We will have a 5-minute break between our council candidates as well as the mayoral candidates. Candidates, you will be expected to remember the question that I ask. However, if you don't remember, please feel free to ask again. Now, when you're finished answering a question, I will then go to another person in varying orders. When your session is complete, we're going to ask you to move from the stage right. And afterwards, our mayoral candidates will enter. In between time, we will have a 5-minute break. And everyone, please, no applause until the very end of the program. And please silence all of your cell phones. So we will begin, and I will call off the names of each candidate. On the stage, we have, in alphabetical order, Daniel Ballet, Kate Fulton, Richard Gottfried, Barry Jackson, Ricky Moy, David Miles, Anita Neal Powell, Isola Shaw, Marissa Valeri, and Adam Van Grack. For our very first question, we will start in alphabetical order with Daniel Ballet. So here is question number 1. Oh, no, we don't have planned introductions. Actually, they'll do their closing in the end. Thank you. Okay, question number 1. What policies would you support to enable senior residents to stay in their homes at a time of rising prices and real estate tax assessments? One more time. What policies would you support to enable our senior residents to stay in their homes at a time of rising prices and real estate tax assessments? And I'll start with Ballet.
Thank you for that question. The way I look at it, I would love to increase shuttle service hours out of senior facilities, and I'd like to maybe get some more input from our senior communities to just make sure that we're on the same page about access. I think access is a really big deal, and that's one of the big policies that I would look into, one of the many.
Thank you. Next, we'll go on to Kate Fulton.
Thank you. There are a number of things we can do to help seniors stay in their home. First, we can increase the number of services that are local and the transportation to those services. Second, the city recently allowed for accessory apartments within the home, so we can actually make it more affordable to stay in the home that people live. Third, we can actually increase our tax base, thereby sort of reducing that threat of the cost of living here staying higher. Last, there's policies that we have through Rockville Housing Enterprises and others that can help support modifications to the home to provide some support and assistance in getting that done. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to Richard Gottfried.
First of all, let me say I'm a proud member of the Rockville Senior Center, and I understand what it's like to be a senior, and the Senior Center offers a lot of very great amenities. There are programs, if you need for seniors, discounts to stay in place. There are policies for a discounted lunch. There's great ping pong here, great gardens, and just a lot of great amenities. One of the things my mother had in her retirement community was a network of neighbors who would take them to go pick up their medicines, go to their doctor's visits and stay with them, drive them to the grocery store, and also to have more neighborhood senior centers so that instead of taking the bus, they can just be with their own neighborhood and take our recreational facilities.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move on to Barry Jackson.
Hi, so this is a great question. So I work for AARP, and I spend a lot of time thinking about things like this. I'm also active with the Neighborhood Villages, which is dedicated to seniors aging in place. But also we need accessory housing for people in housing, but also caregiver assistance is really important. And also making sure that we as a city communicate and get out what we have available to seniors.
Thank you. Ricky Moy.
Good morning or afternoon. My name is Ricky Moy. I have a two-part plan to fix this. Number one, for members that want to stay at home, consider mobile services, medical, dental, making sure that we bring groceries to your house. Reduce taxes or bring you credit, tax credit. Mobility credit, make sure that your house is outfitted. For senior citizens that want to go be vibrant, we have nonprofits like CCACC that offers great adult facilities and the Rockville Senior Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, David Miles.
Thank you for the question, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I was one of the few to come out in this budget season saying that we need to pause some of our larger projects so that we don't increase our property taxes like the county did. So we have to really look at our budget from that perspective because taxes affect us all, particularly seniors on fixed incomes. Secondly, I don't want to steal Councilmember Feinberg's idea, but I do like what she's educated us about providing some tax breaks for seniors as well. And finally, supporting the Village Movement, Trish Evans is here, about allowing people to age in place within their communities, as well as our Department of Housing and Community Development, which provides help for some repairs. Thank you.
Thank you. Anita Neal Powell.
Yes, I would provide, wait a minute. Let me start all over again. So I would not increase property taxes, and I would also give tax credits. I would provide information for them to get resources that are available to them for the city services that we do offer. And I think they need to better understand what is available to them in order to help them to move forward and be able to stay in their homes.
Thank you. Next, we are going to move on to Marissa Valeri. Oh, Shaw, sorry. Sorry. Isola Shaw is next.
Thank you for that question. To address the acute housing crisis that we deal with, two policy measures. One, as the mayor and council advocate to the county to expand the tax credit that they currently have for seniors. Right now, you're able to receive the tax credit if you stay in your home for 40 years, and it's one address. Expanding that to any address if you lived within the county. So if you have moved 10 years, if you have moved, then you can still be eligible for that tax credit. And two, looking at rent stabilization for our seniors.
Thank you, Isola Shaw. Okay, we're going to move on to Marissa Valeri.
Thanks. So the first is accessory dwelling units. So it can be attached entities or a basement that's been converted or a detached building. It's helpful as far as having a place to stay, but also it can be a rent income source. Also, in general assistance, I know from my own perspective as having a parent with a chronic illness that the biggest barrier to staying in the home is getting the wraparound healthcare needs that you need in order to stay in the home that you want to remain in.
Okay, next is Adam Van Grack.
Thanks. Number one, it's got to be a budget issue. We need to not raise the taxes, and we also need to make sure that our corporate entities in Rockville take a larger share off the people. We also need to support the Villages program. We see Bob Wright here, I know, from the Wooten Mills Villages program, allowing people to age in place better. We need to support the nonprofit entities in Rockville. The city government can support our nonprofit entities, giving support to seniors who need it. We need to help with transportation for seniors, with our public transportation, and we need to work with ADUs and other housing aspects so they can make sure they can age in place.
Thank you, council candidates. Now we'll move on to question number 2. Now, we started in alphabetical order. Now we'll go in the opposite direction. For those of you whose name is at the end of the alphabet, now's your time. So here is our question. And we will start with Adam Van Grack. What can the city do to prepare for severe weather conditions that are becoming more common due to climate change?
There's a number of issues that we can do. I've actually worked with a number of homeowners in Rockville. We've got a number of aging trees that have fallen. We have to actually support our forestry service and our park system. We also have to look at all of our facilities, and the city needs to actually have staff looking at our facilities to prepare for these incidents. The more we can look from a prepared situation with regard to our parks, our trees, our green spaces, and our facilities, we can prevent these situations from happening. The more we prepare with regard to a city, we can better prepare for when these incidents occur.
Thank you. Marissa Valeri is next.
I come from a neighborhood where a severe weather incident actually killed a young man adjacent to the neighborhood, just over the line. So I feel very acutely. that this is a really important issue. We need to codify the flood mitigation efforts that were started by this mayor and council. We need to actually provide subsidies or rebates for people to be able to take care of their trees. It's extremely expensive to cut down an aging tree or an injured tree, and we need to provide that support to people to keep our neighborhoods safe.
Isola Shaw.
There's two things that we can do. Increase our green infrastructure, such as rain gardens, permeable pavements, and be able so that we can be able to absorb and filter our stormwater in a more natural way. Also, actually looking at cutting down our aging trees, as well as increasing some of our tree canopies that will also absorb the water. And there are grant funding on the state level that will enable us to increase the amount of trees that we have, including giving us funding.
Anita Neal Powell.
I would provide training on how to prepare for the weather, weatherizing the home, making sure that they have the appropriate items in the house, such as food, flashlights, etc., so that if there is severe weather, they are prepared and would know how to handle it going forward.
David Miles.
Thank you, ma'am. Could you repeat the question again, please?
Yes, of course. So what can the city do to prepare for severe weather conditions that are becoming common due to climate change?
All right, I have to tip my hat to my colleague, Councilmember Feinberg again. She was big on the Office of Emergency Preparedness, and we have, in the context of COVID, had to utilize that office a great deal. Additionally, we can implement the Climate Action Plan. We're currently spending approximately 3% of our total budget on mitigating the impact on the climate, helping reduce how much carbon we're spewing into the environment, as well as collecting funds from some of the federal earmarks that we got to help with our flood mitigation here as well. So I look forward to continuing implementing those great recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Ricky Moy.
Thank you. Rockville citizens are resilient, okay? We can do a lot to prepare, such as early warning, get people notified, so we can start taking efforts to make your house ready for flooding or high winds. We are also making sure that we work with partners, community partner nonprofits, like Rebuilding Together, to take a look at trees or other damage-prone items to make sure that, hey, our house is ready for the storm in the aftermath.
Okay, thank you. Barry Jackson.
So as King Farm Citizen Assembly President, I'm familiar with the tree situation and the fact that we have to replace and remove dying trees. And that's only going to get worse with the climate, I'm afraid. But also, we need to do our infrastructure right. We need things like porous pavements that have been mentioned. And stormwater management is really important. Keeping it up and making new facilities is going to be critical as our climate change gets worse.
Kate Fulton. Oh, Richard Gottfried, sorry.
Thank you. We have to work with our arborists. We currently have a tree maintenance plan, and there's a schedule. Just like our water pipes deteriorated, we revised and replaced the water pipes all along the city. We have to first start with our older neighborhoods whose power lines and telephone lines are above ground and start to maintain and cut the branches that are over the power lines and the telephone lines, and then work our way through the rest of the city that does not have power lines above it.
Thank you. Now let's go on to Kate Fulton.
Thank you. There's one part of the question is how do we prevent the impacts of natural disasters? I've heard people say things I agree with. We need to work on our stormwater management infrastructure. We need to take care of our tree canopy and deal with our forestry issues. But the other part of the question is how do we prepare for when they do occur? I've been in charge of emergency preparedness at 2 different federal agencies. What it requires is a plan that you communicate. We need to have a plan for when our community is impacted and one that we have communicated proactively ahead of time and have a plan for getting out in the time we need it.
Daniel Belay.
I echo the same sentiments that everybody else has talked about forestry and trees. One other idea I would have is working with the county about emergency management alerts going into the city and kind of coordinating with other emergency management stakeholders to make sure that we're on the right track and we're protecting our community from severe weather. That's my answer.
Thank you. All right, just want to remind everyone, the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County, as well as Montgomery College, specifically MC Votes, as you see them spread throughout this forum, have collaborated on the Rockville Election 2023 Candidate Forum, sponsored by the City of Rockville. Now, we are on to question number 3, and we will start in the middle with David Miles. Yeah, we're a little creative with this numbering system we have here. So, question number 3, and I will say it twice. What is your position on creating internship opportunities for students in the City of Rockville's administrative offices and or employment opportunities for college graduates in Rockville? One more time. So what is your position on creating internship opportunities for students in the City of Rockville's administrative offices and or employment opportunities for college graduates in Rockville?
That is a great question. The short answer is that I do support internship opportunities, paid internship opportunities for soon-to-be grads and recent grads. People ask, well, what kind of staff do you have to be a city council member? I say, you're looking at it. I answer my own phone calls, take my own emails and such. I appreciate city staff in terms of their departments, in terms of what they do, but it takes a lot. And I think it also encourages engagement in local government, which will help facilitate, I presume, voting behavior as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anita Neal Powell.
I would first find out what the interest is of the student, and I would provide a match program, because I would not want any student to go somewhere where they're really not interested in participating in an internship program. And I will also look at their goals and their objective of what they hope to accomplish once they have graduated from college.
Isola Shaw.
I love that question. I also support internships within city government, and also to couple that with a mentorship program to help that young person have guidance throughout their career, and also to be able to connect a number of opportunities with Montgomery College, like business incubators, as well as STEM programs.
Okay, Melissa Valeri.
So as a proud Montgomery College graduate, I do love this question on several levels, because when I graduated, there was no entryway to even thinking of myself up here. I would love to see a stronger collaboration with Montgomery College and with entities like the University of Maryland Global Campus and other flexible learning spaces to connect to both traditional and non-traditional students, to give them an opportunity. I agree, internships need to be paid so that they are equitable, and so it's not just those individuals with the most money who are able to do them, and I hope that these things can, whoever is in council, that they can implement them.
Thank you. Adam Van Grack.
It is critical that we engage with our city's youth, and we need to make sure that there's internship opportunities for high school and college students. We actually used to do a better job at that. I know, because I was actually a City of Rockville intern. When I was in high school, I still have my ID card, and it has actually brought me to where I am today in my engagement. And so, quite frankly, not only do I support it, I'm a proud member of a Rockville internship. We need to do it for our high school students. We need to do it for our college students. The more we engage them, the better our city will be.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to Daniel Belay.
Yeah, as a former MCPS student, I support paid internships. I think it's really important that we engage, students not just at the college level, but at the high school level, to encourage them to be good role models, not just in the classroom, but outside the classroom. I would also support more social media engagement about these opportunities and creating that pipeline, because nowadays, kids in my generation, we're always on our phones.
Yes. All right. Kate Fulton.
Thank you. I interned in my local government when I was in high school. I actually oversee internship programs now for administrative offices in government. I think they're a win-win for the students and the government. The ways that they are successful is, number one, if everybody has equal access to them. The city needs to do a broad outreach to make sure everyone has access. They need to be engaging. The work that is done during internships needs to be meaningful and also enriching to the students. And number three, the relationship needs to be ongoing. You can develop pipelines of talent that serves the city for years if you keep that engagement going.
Thank you. Richard Gottfried.
I just won't talk the talk. I actually walk the walk. I'm actually, since 1990, an adjunct faculty at Montgomery College, and I've been providing internships for over 30 years to the students at Montgomery College. Through my business relationships as a CPA, CPA firms, I am been the faculty advisor for the Business and Accounting Club, where we provide internships. I teach workforce development continuing education, where I train tax preparers to be able to make a living and get a job in preparing tax returns.
Okay, thank you. Barry Jackson.
So I was an intern in college. I interned with the state legislature, and actually I changed career paths. I wanted to be a lawyer. We don't need more lawyers. And I went into legislative advocacy, and I made a career. And so I understand how important internships are, and I would do everything in my power, if elected, to build a partnership with Montgomery College and others for the internships.
Thank you. Ricky Moy.
Thank you. I'm a huge supporter of Montgomery College. They offer such a wide and diverse catalog of programs. I, as a Accenture consultant for Accenture, I've worked with the U.S. Department of Education. There's precedence with the Teach Grant and Public Service Loan Forgiveness. I would love to use these programs to help. If you work for the city for a certain amount of time, perhaps there's a tax credit or a ability to pay off that loan. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a question here, question number 4. Now, we will actually start with our candidates sitting and the even number seats, and then we'll go on to odd number seats. Yes, we're so creative. All right. Now, so the question is as stands, and we will start with Kate Fulton. This is actually a question from the audience. What would you do to help immigrants become more involved in our community?
I love that question. One is effective communication. This city is one of the most diverse in the country, but we're not reaching everyone. We need to be incredibly proactive. We need to be multilingual in our communications. We need to meet people where they are. I've been trying to do that locally in my own neighborhood, and I think we need to do it broadly and as like a policy for our city, invest more. What we're doing is the basics that we need to do, but outreach, effective, multilingual communication is required.
Thank you. Barry Jackson.
So in King Farm, we have a diverse community, and they speak many, many different languages. And what we found is that we need translation services that aren't readily available in the city. They're available in the county, but they're hard to get to. So I think that we need to make more translation services available because people need to be able to communicate, and also we should, the city, put everything into different languages as well.
Thank you. David Miles.
Thanks for that question. I had to think about that one. I think, so last night we had Cultural Heritage Night at my child's school, and I think partnering with Montgomery County Public Schools would be great. There's such a huge need and demand, I should say, for example, speaking other languages. I'm still on the lottery to get our child into Mandarin, French, Spanish. I think the city could partner with them perhaps to provide some free language services for those who desire them. And then just provide more opportunities for community. The world right now is hurting. We have a lot of people who are suffering, and I think the more we can talk together, be the best. Thank you.
All right, thank you, or should I say gracias, as we say in languages. Let us move on to Isola Shaw.
So 3 things. 1, work with nonprofits and community organizations that already have the trust, relationships, and already are working within immigrant communities to expand our community engagement. 2, I would also expand our use of translation services throughout our city government. And then 3, I would also create a new board or commission that would pull in community members from a number of different immigrant communities to help guide the mayor and council in making decisions.
Thank you. Next, Adam Van Grack.
Thank you. There's a number of things we can do. Some of the other candidates have said we need to increase our translation services, not just within our communications, but at our meetings and other opportunities. We need to have more policies to engage folks to get them and better communication from the city to staff. We need to embrace different cultures, but I'm going to add something. The city's talked about, and we've talked about hiring volunteer coordinators. We need to actually hire people to get either immigrants or other people that don't know about our services involved in our boards and commissions and more activities so they know about what's going on in the city.
Daniel Belay.
We need to have more open forums with our immigrant communities, and we need to talk to them, as well as expanding translation services. I think it's important that we have members available, and so that we can have those discussions with them about what we can do to improve their living within the city. So that's what I think.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to Richard Godfrey.
So I was, again, honored by Montgomery College, and I received the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Award for my work working with a very diverse population of students at Montgomery College. The city recognizes all parts, all heritages. And in Twin Brook, they have an international music night, and let's see what else. Also, when I was Civic Association president, I was the first one to have signs in Spanish and Mandarin for our diverse neighborhood.
Ricky Moy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, you trust and going to where they are. I've heard those on the stage, and I love that. Things that I've tangibly done for my elementary school, I've joined the PTA. We had a multicultural event where we celebrated 25 different cultures. On another hand, I would love to see more money toward caregiver grants, where we do work with immigrant services and translation services. So these are already tangible. We just need to add more support behind it to make it a reality. Thanks.
Thank you. Anita Neal Powell.
Well, I would recommend reaching out to the various organizations and communities to to come together with a conversation to really find out what's available there. I know that Montgomery County has a program that focuses on the immigration and getting people more involved. But how can we do that in terms of with the city? There could be a partnership that could allow us to come together with the county and the city to talk about how we can partner in making sure that our communities are getting the best services that are available to them and have access as well.
Thank you. Marissa Valeri.
So also coming from Twin Brook, I made it very intentional when I became president of our community association to do outreach to the variety of immigrants in our community. And there are challenges, to be sure. A lot of that starts with trust. And I think that we have a long way to go to get many communities to trust and to see their government as truly a partner, that's someone that wants to see them achieve and wants to see everybody receive the same services equally.
Thank you, and that concludes this round that we're at right now. We are going to move on. Hopefully you all feel like you want to go out and vote right now. You're excited. Yes, these are great responses here, and we're hoping that you vote on November the 7th. Okay, so we're going to go on to question number 5. And of course, we've thought a lot about this, so we will start with our odd numbers, and then we will go on to the even numbers as we are very creative today. So our number 5 question is as follows, and I will say it twice. What can the city do to support people who want to open a business in Rockville, particularly senior citizens and minority residents? And so we will start with Daniel Belay.
That's a great question. I would work with nonprofit entities and some of the other organizations in our community who support entrepreneurship and have a discussion with them about what we can do to lower the barrier of entry in terms of starting a business. There are a lot of barriers out there right now, like taxation, things of that nature, but let's educate and let's bring up some new entrepreneurs.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to Richard Gottfried.
Thank you for that question. You know, when I moved here in 1990, I opened up my business and I knew nobody. And so the first thing I did was I joined the Chamber of Commerce. And the Chamber of Commerce gives you a great opportunity to network with businesses that start out and where you meet other businesses and they help you grow and expand. Ready has the Excellent Women's Business Center that offers free how to write a business plan. For seniors, Lifetime Learning Center is a great place, and WDCE will help you.
Thank you. All right, on to Ricky Moy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Advice I would give to my neighbor Ryan, who recently graduated high school and wanted to start a bakery. I gave her 2 pieces of advice. Speak with the Rockville Enterprise Development, Inc., READY, and attend Montgomery College. Those 2 things will give you the necessary skill sets to start understanding what the needs of the community are. You want to start a business, it has to fill a need. You've got to get foot traffic to your store. So I thank you very much.
Okay, appreciate it, Ricky Moy. Let's move on to Anita Neal Powell.
First of all, we're here at the Senior Center. The Senior Center offers a lot of services for seniors, so perhaps they could come up with a program entitled Starting a Business as a Senior. Hopefully, by being able to do that, we can provide services. We could have nonprofit organization, businesses ready and all sitting around a table to really talk about how we can do this as seniors. I think that a lot of times we don't talk to each other. We need to talk to each other so that we know and understand what services are available for us and how we can, in fact, start a business.
Thank you. Marissa Valeri.
So yeah, this is a great question, and I won't repeat the answers that you've heard already, but it's something that I've thought about when I saw in my own community the resilience of many small businesses with very little resources that had not been connected to READY or to the Chamber. And what I think is the connection there is that there was community buy-in. The entire community wanted to see them thrive, appreciated what they had to bring to the community. And so how do we make that connection for others? I think that is the trick.
Thank you. Kate Fulton.
Thank you. I would agree with what a lot of others have said here. It boils down to about 4 things. 1, invest in READY. The services, the way they actually help small businesses, we need to not just invest in it, but communicate about it. So much of what we need to do better is just simply communicate better. If we could get to those people, that would help. 2 is, as other people have said, understand the community. We need to be sharing what the needs are so people that are looking to start small businesses can meet those needs. That's an appropriate role of our city to do. And then 3, we need to remove some barriers, streamline permitting and access to sites that people need to do those businesses.
Thank you. We're on to Barry Jackson.
Yes, can you repeat the question, please?
Oh, sure, Zach, I will. So what can the city do to support people who want to open a business in Rockville, particularly senior citizens and minority residents?
This is a great question because I think that people misunderstand seniors and the fact that their entrepreneurial drive gets stronger over time for many people. And I know this because, as I mentioned before, I work for ARP, and we have a lot of things to do with businesses and opening up businesses. So I would partner with nonprofits, I would partner with READY, and I would partner with Chamber of Commerce to bring opportunities to people that want to start businesses in Rockville.
Thank you. Moving on to David Miles.
Thanks for the question. I think it's a twofold answer. One is certainly providing incentives for those businesses that do need the help, and then making sure that they remain resilient so that we work on retention. I was happy to lead the effort on beginning a conversation within procurement, because I think the city needs to walk the walk too. Where are we having our contracts filled? What type of businesses are we working with? And with a particular emphasis on a focus on how well are we doing filling the minority, female, disabled, and veteran communities. Although we can't make huge changes legally now, it's a discussion that I look forward to continuing to have to make that a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Isola Shaw.
So a few things. Pursue funding, especially from the Small Business Administration, that particularly for seniors and minority-owned businesses. Also looking at streamlining our licensing and permitting processes, as well as investing in Ready.
Thank you. Adam Van Grack.
One, we need to provide better financial support for people starting their businesses. We can do it with nonprofits. We can do it with the Rockville Economic Development, Inc. We also need to provide incubator space. People need locations to do it. We need to help that. Three, education. We need to work with Montgomery College and business leaders to help educate people on what you need to do to start a business and how that business can succeed. We need to work with the Rockville Chamber of Commerce and also the city about advertising, getting people in to support them, but also getting support for these businesses. But finally, we also need to work within the city. We can increase the people that are coming into the city for the businesses and also the people inside the city to support these future small business owners.
Thank you. And we have another question here from the audience. And this is our last question before the closing statement. And we will start on this side and we'll go through with Adam Van Grack. Now, the question is as follows. I'll say it twice. What services can the city provide to seniors suffering isolation and loneliness? Again, what services can the city provide to seniors suffering from isolation and loneliness? Thank you, Mr. Van Grack.
This city is about community, and we need to support everyone. Now, first of all, there's and I mentioned it before, the Villages neighborhood programs. The more we can support these programs about having our community help, that's what they're about. We also need to, I mentioned before, volunteer coordinator. The more we can reach out to our seniors who might have time to help out with the city, the more they can engage in the city. Additionally, we've got Montgomery College. We have all these high schools. We got people that are looking for opportunities. If we coordinate and communicate our youth with our seniors, everyone will benefit.
Thank you. Next, Marissa Valeri.
I believe that the best antidote to loneliness is connection, and I think some of the best connection I've seen has been intergenerationally. At our community center, there was a community garden where it was actually put together, I believe, by the Twinbrook Village in part, but it brought together the young people that were at the community center with the elderly individuals from the community, and they grew vegetables and did things like that together. It was a very positive experience, and I think it brought absolute joy to both the young people and the seniors alike.
Thank you. On to Ms. Shaw.
As a city, we can work with our seniors to plan events and engagement opportunities, listen to seniors to see what they want, what they're envisioning, and also work with our nonprofits that also have relationships and be able to conduct activities.
Okay, thank you. Now we're on to Ms. Neal Powell.
I would encourage the seniors to sign up for they have a senior newsletter. I would also try to put together the youth and the seniors together so that they can communicate the differences in the generation. I'd also have programs, events that seniors can come to so that they are a part of the public. They have other voices that they can hear. But while doing that, I would also offer that we provide transportation to them. But most importantly, I think we need to communicate with the seniors who are lonely.
Thank you. Mr. Miles.
Thank you, ma'am. This is a timely question. The United States Surgeon General prioritized combating loneliness as a public health priority because it's real. I think we should, in Rockville, we've done a great job. I should say Ms. Trish Evans has done a great job in particular with the Villages program. I've seen it blossom over the years. We need to publicize it more. We need to collaborate with our places of worship. So later on today, I'll go to church and do our food donation. But it's just a time for young people like me, who I used to be young, and the seniors to hang out. And then perhaps, I don't know if this exists already, but having a formal program where you have folks just visit and check in on others. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think being young is very relative to where you're at. That's what I've learned over the years. Sometimes I'm old, sometimes I'm young. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to Mr. Moy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I think from my experience of speaking to the neighbors, Rockville cares. Rockville does care. We just need to know how to care or what to do. So some ideas I have are to use the city council to celebrate all the volunteers that do SSL hours, to meet with the senior citizens, listen to their stories, have them help with projects. Or bring a foster dog or your dog to do foster dog therapy. Just spend time with the senior citizens and actually care. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
I'm going to ask you to repeat the question one more time.
Oh, sure. So the question is as follows. What services can the city provide to seniors suffering isolation and loneliness?
Yeah, loneliness and isolation are really a big problem with our senior community. And I know this because I work with the neighborhood villages pretty frequently. And yes, Trish Evans is wonderful. Thank you, Trish. And transportation is important, but the benefit to the neighborhood village is that people go out, they talk to the neighbors, and they knock on the doors and make sure that they're okay. And actually, I think recently the police actually came to a house and actually found somebody that needed help because of the villages.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. On to Mr. Gottfried.
So personally, when my father passed away, my mother was all alone, and she lived in her condo all by herself. So I have to use my mother as an example of how she was able to not be lonely and alone. So what she did was she would go out with a group of her friends who were also retired and their spouses passed away, and they had lunches. They went to Chinese restaurants on Fridays. They played table games like Mahjong. She went out, the community offered speakers they even talked about politics.
Thank you, Mr. Gottfried.
Current topics.
Thank you. On to Ms. Fulton.
Thank you. The question being, what can the city do? The answer is communicate and coordinate and tap into the resources we already have here. We have the villages, we have civic associations, we have schools, we have places of worship, and we have our own community centers. If we could have someone in the city tapping into all of that talent and helping them ease that isolation, I think that would go a long way.
Okay, thank you. Now we're on to Mr. Belay.
Yeah, I heard the word communicate a lot, but we need to reach as a council body. We need to reach. We need to come to the villages. We need to actually show up. Whether that be establish a new board or commission to look into this, maybe have a member come out and reach out to folks in that space or in that community. We need to reach, not just communicate, but we need to reach.
Okay, thank you, City Council candidates. Now we are on to our final portion of this session, which is the part that they will impart to you, their closing statements. You will have a whole 60 seconds to make your points, and we will start from the front, just like we did in the beginning, with Daniel Belay. Thank you. 60 seconds.
Thank you for having us. My name is Daniel Belay. I've lived in Rockville for 5 years. I served on the City Board of Supervisors of Elections for 2 of those years, and I've had 4 years of federal service. But I would say my big goal here is to listen to everyone in each community throughout Rockville. There are several issues that I look at, but again, I don't have time to talk about all of them. Some of them include effective community policing and a well-funded police force, taking care of our retirees and veterans, and also advocating for our youth and creating opportunities for them. We really need to tap in. We talked about boards and commissions a lot. We need to really tap into that because that is our voice from community all the way up to council about various different policy issues and things of that nature. So if you vote for me on November 7th, you're going to get someone who's a great listener, someone who's ready to reach out to everybody in the community and listen to what the issues are for our future. And if you vote for me, you're going to get somebody who's a leader. Thank you.
Thank you. On to Ms. Fulton.
Thank you, and thank you for organizing this forum. You can learn more about me, my background, my skills, my priorities through the Rockville Reports or at www.fulton4rockville.com. But I wanted to take an opportunity to maybe share a little bit about my philosophy and my vision for Rockville, and I'll do it through talking about parenting. I think my kids are pretty great, but honestly, they're not without their flaws. And I don't want to freeze them in time. I need my children to grow. I need them to adapt. I need them to influence the world and be influenced by the world and achieve their potential. That's what I want for Rockville. My job as a parent is to protect my children's future. My job as your elected leader will be to protect Rockville's future. That's the way I approach the job. That's the way I will do the job if I am elected. I hope I earned your support today. If you have any other questions for me, please reach out, fultonforrockville@gmail.com. Thanks again.
Thank you, Ms. Fulton. On to Mr. Gottfried.
My name is Richard Gottfried. I want to thank our host, the League of Women Voters and Montgomery College, for an excellent forum. Why vote for Richard Gottfried? 1, Richard's a CPA with over 30 years of professional experience. 2, Richard has more than 16 years of civic experience in the city of Rockville. 3, Richard has the leadership skills that are essential to finding common ground amongst diverse opinions and stakeholders. 4, Richard has excellent relationships with city, county, and state elected officials. 5, Richard has the financial experience as a CPA that has served on boards of directors and has the requisite financial and governmental accounting experience. With Mayor Newton and Councilmember Feinberg retiring from official duties in 2023, it's imperative that we elect a candidate with professional experience with multi-million-dollar governmental budgets. Richard is the right choice for representing your financial voice. To learn more about me, please visit my website, godfriedforcouncil.com. I'd be honored to have your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Gottfried. On to Mr. Jackson.
All right. So I'm Barry Jackson. Over the course of these 3 forums, you have heard our ideas, experience, and have gotten an idea of who we are. I don't believe there's no difference in our positions. Just as I don't believe there's no difference in our experiences preparing us for the City Council. The City Council will soon have at least 5 new members with no practical governing experience. In my 30 years career with the American Cancer Society, ARP, or my work with the neighborhood villages, or as King Farm president, I have the relevant experience, have shown leadership and real results. That is why Bridget Donnell Newton and State Senator Cheryl Kagan, among many others, support my campaign. Go to votebarryjackson.com to learn more. Vote Barry Jackson for City Council. I humbly ask for your vote.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jackson. We're on to Mr. Moy.
Thank you. I am Ricky F. Moy. For the past 3 years, I've worked on a campaign to put action to my words. To protect and serve our children, I've served on the Beal PTA. I joined the Cub Scout in PAC 928 as a den leader. To understand the needs of the community, I graduated from the Montgomery County Citizens Academy, so I worked alongside the county police. I've graduated from the Rockville City Academy, and now I'm in Leadership Montgomery's Emerging Leaders class. I've consistently worked with nonprofits alongside patriots like Maryland Secretary of State Susan Lee. With your vote of confidence on November 7th, help me help you make the biggest difference for all of Rockville. I humbly ask for your vote, and thank you. Together, we thrive.
Excellent. Moving on from Moy to Mr. Miles.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks also to the hosts and for everybody who came out today on this beautiful autumn day. My name is David Miles. I work as a pediatrician, served active duty in the United States Navy, and have been humbly serving as one of your city council members for the past 4 years. As I mentioned before, I ran them for the same reasons I'm running now. I want to make sure that everybody feels safe. That means making sure that our streets are safe to traverse, that we feel safe in our homes, that kids have opportunities to be involved in programs so they're not getting into mischief. That also means funding our police department and filling the empty vacancies that do exist. I also want to make sure I leave the planet in a better place than I found it. And while we've made some progress, there's much more progress to be made. And I do, and most importantly, or equally important, want to continue to provide the high-quality city services in a fiscally prudent way. I hope that I can earn your vote, and thank you for your time again.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. Next, we have Ms. Neal Powell.
Good afternoon, and thank you for hosting this forum. My name is Anita Neal Powell. I have been involved in the city, county, and state public policy for decades. I am a business owner, chair of the Rockville Historic District Commission, the Montgomery County Fire and Emergency Services Commission, former member of the Charter Review Commission. I voted to add the 4 questions to the ballot. Task Force on Board and Commission. I voted to add a Youth and Police Advisory Commission. Maryland Commission of African American History and Culture. I presented before the Maryland State Delegation to receive grants to tell the stories of Maryland's African Americans. I am the former president of NAACP, Montgomery County Branch. I organized a march and worked with county government to make sure our county and city are safe. I am one of Maryland's top 100 women. There is Anita Neal Powell Day named in Montgomery County. My leadership and professional experiences with these organizations provide me with the knowledge, guidance, and understanding of the policy of the city, county, and state. I am the best qualified candidate to move Rockville forward. I ask for your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're on to moving from Ms. Neal Powell on to Ms. Shaw.
Thank you again. My name is Isola Shaw. I bring decades of leadership experience at all levels of government. I graduated magna cum laude from Howard University and received my master's degree in economic and community development from Johns Hopkins. I advise 500 local governments across the U.S. on strengthening their infrastructure and building their community resilience with FEMA. Throughout the pandemic, I worked at NIH to improve all Americans' health outcomes. I've been appointed to several county and city board and commissions on the local level. But let me tell you what drives me to run. In 1963, my father was one of 5 Black students who integrated his high school in Richmond, Virginia. At the age of 16, he had to be escorted by the U.S. National Guard. His courageous story inspired my vision for Rockville. I want every resident to receive the quality services they need and have the opportunity to engage in making policies that directly impact their lives. My name again is Isola Shaw, and I ask for your vote to make our city a place that works for all of us.
Thank you. Moving on from Ms. Shaw to Ms. Valerie. Valerie.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. You know, it's easy to talk about the issues when the cameras are on. It takes genuine empathy and a strong work ethic to do the job when no one is watching. And that's what I'll do when I'm elected. I'll work to make sure everyone has a chance to thrive and not merely survive. My reason for running is simple. I want to expand the work I began in Twin Brook and with the Rockville Pedestrian Advocacy Committee to all communities in Rockville. I will listen to you, meet you where you're at every year and not just during an election year. As the president of the Twin Brook Community Association, I made it a point to listen and learn from my community and bring their concerns forward to City Hall. I know what it's like to not feel seen or heard at City Hall. It's frustrating. It makes people cynical. I am committed to holding monthly listening sessions at every community center in the city so that residents can feel connected and empowered. We can be a united city, but it's going to take council members like us.
All right, great, thank you. And we will close with Mr. Van Grack.
Last but certainly not least. I'm running for city council because I love Rockville, the city where I was raised, the city where I work, and the city where I'm raising my family. As a city, we have the chance to do big things and make Rockville even better, and we need to elect the leaders who can get it done. Aside from being an attorney who works in Rockville Town Center, I've also worked in the United States Senate, served on the Maryland Juvenile Justice Advisory Council, and I currently serve in the Rockville Chamber of Commerce's Public Policy Committee. I've also been endorsed by over 20 former and current elected officials, including 3 former Rockville mayors and 5 current state legislators. Now, we've talked about some of the priorities. I have my priorities on my website and on my literature, but I want to note that I'm running for city council because I really want to see our city succeed. As I noted, the very first job ever was an internship in City Hall working in the Human Resources Department. As I said, Still have my ID card. Now I'm asking for your vote to send me back to City Hall, but this time on the City Council.
All right, thank you very much. What a way to close. Okay, so let us thank our city council candidates for involving themselves in this forum. Thank you, city council candidates. Okay, so we will have a 5-minute break still, and we're going to ask all of our city council candidates to please exit right, and the mayoral candidates please step forward. We will resume in 5 minutes. Thank you.
We are having a volunteer reception for all the volunteers for the city of Rockville. We have over 200 volunteers that take time out of their daily lives to support the city in many events, from Recreation and Park to the Senior Services to the Board of Appeals to the Board of Elections. Their time is so valuable to us that we need them in order for the city to run smoothly.
Okay, yeah. For me, volunteering, it really helps build a sense of community. And not just for me, but I think also for the city and the surrounding area as a whole.
For a person to volunteer, it takes time, but they also grow on their own personal skills. They network, they learn from each other, and they might make connections that they hadn't made before.
I think I get to meet a lot of great people, and I think they just help me improve myself and so many other people. I wouldn't be the same person without volunteering at Rockville.
Rockville is a city that cares, and we wouldn't be this kind of city without our volunteers.
Welcome. We are at the Rockville Election 2023 Candidate Forum, which is a collaboration between the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County as well as Montgomery College. And again, it is sponsored by the City of Rockville. We are broadcasting live from the Rockville Senior Center right here. And for the next 30 minutes, we will hear from our two mayoral candidates. Again, I am moderating the session. My name is Tiffany Copeland, and I am a media professor at Montgomery College. First, I'd like to make an announcement. We do have someone in the room here. Senator Cheryl Kagan is in the room. I'd just like to acknowledge her presence and thank her so much for attending this session. So we have our mayoral candidates in the front. Of course, we have in alphabetical order, Monique Ashton, only two. So she got that one. And Mark Pershela, he got that one in the end. Excellent. Thank you so much for coming. And what we will do is we will repeat the questions, some of the questions from last time, and then we'll go more into our audience questions. So please be patient with us. Now, question number one, we will start with Monique Ashton. So question number one is as follows. What policies would you support to enable senior residents to stay in their homes at times of rising prices and real estate tax assessments? And I'll say that one more time. What policies would you support to enable senior residents to stay in their homes at times of rising prices and real estate tax assessments? Thank you, Ms. Ashton.
Thank you very much. So first, I want to just thank everyone who's here today. I see so many faces, familiar and some new ones, and I appreciate your time and civic engagement. I also want to acknowledge the work and the tremendous toll, I should say, that everything is taking. I would support a senior tax credit. I have been advocating for expanding this tax credit. It's about $495. It needs to be increased. I would support doing more to support transportation. I think this senior center is doing a fantastic job. We need to get those services out to more people in the community.
Thank you. Mark Pershela.
Certainly, I've supported the tax credits that we do give for my 12 years on the council. I'm all about increasing the city's housing supply. I've said that in terms of younger people, but it's also important for downsizing elders. One of the things that Rockville itself can do is to help seniors navigate the system. I am my mother's caregiver, just moved to Rockville, and the ability to navigate the system is so important for anybody. It's the county, the state that do most of the heavy lifting, the federal government, but it's Rockville that can actually help people access services. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we will start now with Mark Pershela, and here is question number two. What can the city do to prepare for severe weather conditions that are becoming more common due to climate change?
Yes, so you think we're on high ground, we're okay, we're not that close to the coast for hurricanes, but then a big storm just sits over Rockville like it did in Twinbrook and dumps inches in an hour. So water is the biggest issue. We need to keep the pipes, the conduits, and all that clear. We learned that lesson. I'm a big stormwater management advocate. I have been for years, learned that when I was Civic Association president. One thing I didn't hear the council members mention was snow. We once had 2 100-year snowstorms about 2 or 3 days apart. We actually hired backhoes from around the country to clear that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Monique Ashton.
Thank you. I currently serve as the Environment Commission liaison and also liaison for CPEC. I'm very deeply involved. I accelerated the work to get a first climate action plan here in the city of Rockville. When I first came in here, I noticed that we need to do some serious foundational things. One is we enacted the flood mitigation program to help our homes be more resilient. We also looked at stormwater management planning throughout, and then we're also looking at a number of other things for prevention, mitigation, as well as response. I also want to acknowledge that we do have an emergency COOP plan that's being developed so that we can plan for today and the future.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we will move on to question number 3. And the question will go to Monique Ashton. Ms. Ashton, what can the city do to support people who want to open a business in Rockville particularly senior citizens and minority residents?
Thank you. I really tried to do a lot in terms of our business support and community. I found that Rockville had a lot of resources, but we weren't communicating enough about them, and we also weren't being proactive. We were kind of closing the deal when something came through. I serve on the Maryland Women's Business Center Advisory Board. I also interact and support READY, our economic development group. I think we need to make sure businesses know how to navigate the city, how to be able to remove barriers. So getting through our permitting system when needed, and I've helped businesses do that. I get about 2 or 3 calls per week, and I get in there and I help them. I work with our staff to get that done.
Okay, thank you. Mark Pershela.
Yes, so we have Rockville Economic Development Incorporated, which exists today because of me pushing back on an effort to defund it. I helped birth the Maryland Women's Business Center. Used to be the Rockville Women's Business Center. It has an SBA liaisonship now. It's very successful. I had to start my own business at the age of 58. I took 15 to 20 courses with the Maryland Women's Business Center. Those were very helpful, about $15, $25 a pop. All you have to do is go online. It's very easy to find the resources as a business owner in Rockville, not only READY, but the city itself. Thank you.
Okay, now we're moving on to question number 4, which is, what is your position on creating internships, opportunities for student and the City of Rockville's administrative offices, and/or employment opportunities for those students that graduate from college in Rockville itself? And we will start with Mark Pershela.
Yes, over the years, I've had a number of inquiries, sometimes directly from students, sometimes from their parents. Can you help get so-and-so into city government? And we do have internships, but it's very ad hoc. I think it has to be a more formal program. You need the match. Somebody mentioned that earlier. Some of our city jobs are extraordinarily specialized, arcane, and if you can't go into planning without a planning study, for example. Human resources might be a little easier, but some of our stuff is so very arcane.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ashton.
I'm a firm supporter in helping our youth to be leaders, not only to leverage their experience and their perspectives, but to help lead us for tomorrow. I do support an internship program. We do have some ad hoc interns, but we need to be more formalized, and we need to make sure it's meaningful. Montgomery County has a Summer Rise program that the city has not participated in. I think that would be a great start. They actually had more students than they had opportunities over the past few years. I would help to collaborate to make that happen. I would also work with Montgomery College to see how we can match our businesses as well as City Hall so that people get real life experiences and can help support our city government.
Okay, it's so much quicker to get through when you just have 2 candidates than 10. We're going so fast here, right? So we will continue with our question number 5, and we will start with Monique Ashton, of course, and the question is from the audience. We'll get to a lot of those right now. Under what circumstances would you raise the tax rate?
Are you ready for me? Is that the end of it?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
This is interesting because we encountered this discussion in the very last budget season, and I did stand the ground and said, this is not the time to raise taxes because so many people are feeling financial pressures. We need to live within our means. I also proactively led an effort through my role with the Maryland Municipal League to get tax money back to our city. As president of that chapter, I brought 21 municipalities together, and for last year we got $2.5 million back. In FY25, the City of Rockville is getting $8 million back to support transportation and public safety police services, and that's how I'm trying to make sure that we live within our means and that residents can afford to live here.
Thank you. Let's go on to Mark Pershela.
Under no circumstances will I support a property tax rate increase. Close of answer almost. Let me just say, Rockville has a very strong financial position, but we have made several terrible unforced errors, especially with capital projects, expenses we didn't need to take, opportunities that we have passed by. I have fought hard to increase the tax base. It's been very, very difficult to increase the tax base due to citizen opposition, but I have fought against that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. This, of course, is the Rockville Election 2023 Candidate Forum in collaboration, of course, with Montgomery College's MC Votes, as well as the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County, sponsored by the City of Rockville. We are halfway into our questions for the mayoral candidates, and we're coming on to question number 6. We will start with Mark Pershela, and we will ask this question. This is an audience question, which is, what should the city do to recruit and retain police officers?
So in the last budget process, our police chief broke ranks with the city manager and actually asked for additional increase in salaries, and I supported him. This is May 1st. I supported that. I found a way to pay for it, but that was not supported. We need to increase the salaries. We need to increase the bonuses. We need to increase other things we can do for the police. But let me just say, Rockville is a great place to be a police officer. And our new police chief, our Fostering Community Trust Ordinance, which I helped pass, all make it a great place to be a police officer, and they should apply. Thank you.
Thank you. Monique Ashton.
Thank you. I led on discussions regarding our police salary. I asked for comparisons. I know that it was a tough budget season, and I asked, even as of last Monday's meeting, for the city staff to come back and present to us to see what's going on. There are a couple issues. One is we need to increase the pipeline of officers. We need to continue to support incentives, and we need to deal with some of the challenges that the county is having, where they're asking for more support from the city and get funding back so that we can do right by our city police. We did do a number of things during this term. We increased the number of police officers. We provided a mental health specialist. We also helped to get the major. We put on-call pay, working with my colleague, Councilmember Feinberg, night differential, and many other things where we need to continue to support our police.
Okay, thank you very much. Here's our next question, number 7, and we will start with Monique Ashton. How can the city support affordable housing? For example, rent stabilization, another question from the audience. And we'll go on to Ms. Ashton.
Thank you. I currently serve as the liaison for Rockville Housing Enterprise. In that role, I help them to get a property that increased their affordable housing portfolio by 31%. I was also endorsed by Greater Washington because of my approach in looking at increasing housing affordability. I've also advocated to make the citywide policy for Molly Price dwelling units from 12.5% in some areas to 15% citywide. We're also keeping those properties at 99 years to maintain that affordability. There's only for so much infill. We do need to work and work with market rate developers, because 90% of new housing comes from them, and every building that they put on does have 15% now affordable housing.
Okay, Mark Pershela.
I have walked the walk and suffered politically for supporting affordable housing over the years. Fireside Park Apartments, Victory Court, harm of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese, all of those were severely opposed by residents, and I supported them, and that hurt. There are a number of apartment buildings in this city that are here because of me on 3-2 votes. Bainbridge near the Shady Grove Metro, getting Choice Hotels International attraction led to a couple apartment buildings in town center explicitly and directly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, all the other questions that I'm asking were asked from the League of Women Voters or Montgomery College. Don't want you to think that we have been neglecting ourselves in this whole process. So we have our next question, which is from Montgomery College as well as the League of Women Voters. Now, we will move on to Mark Pershela. I will ask you to answer first. And here is the question as it stands. There is a ballot measure to allow 16-year-old residents to vote in city elections. What is your view on this issue? And if it's approved by voters, how should the council implement it? I can repeat that. There's a ballot measure to allow 16-year-old residents to vote in city elections. What is your view on this issue? And if it is approved by the voters, how should the council implement it? Mr. Pershela.
Right, it's an advisory referendum, so we take the advice or we don't. I am totally opposed to 16 and 17-year-olds voting. I've been very clear about that right from the start. I don't think they have the knowledge or the maturity I was of the age when 18-year-olds were allowed to vote, and that was controversial. So should it come before a mayor and council? It doesn't matter if it's approved by voters or not. It can come anyway to mayor and council. So if it does come before us, if there's enough council members who want it on the agenda, we'll discuss it fairly. We'll get the input from city residents and go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. And Monique Ashton.
Thank you. I think the heart of the matter is how do we find ways to get youth more engaged? And I would be focused on that. I think that we need to stand up the Youth Commission, and we need to really get more youth involved in our boards and commissions. We need to start there. We have a lot of youth who are incredibly smart and have a lot of talent, and we need to do a better job of engaging them. It is an advisory referenda. I would lead discussions and have public hearings on the topic, and we'll be listening to the voters. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right. So this will be our very last question for you both, and then we will go into the closing remarks. Now, since it is the last question, I think we will just conclude with a question that's coming from the audience. So the question at hand is as follows. You will be selecting the next city manager. What are your thoughts on selecting this person and being able to retain this person? Question from the audience. Let us start with Monique Ashton.
So we have an acting city manager right now, and I can't go into too much about what transpired, but what I can say is that we need to be a city that has a professional approach to how we manage our appointeds. They need to have clear expectations. They need to have quarterly opportunities to engage with us. And as we move forward, the next council will pick the city manager. We're setting the steps so that the next city council is prepared. So we are getting an executive search form so that when they come in, we'll be able to lead those discussions. I have hired many people in my career as an executive vice president. I know how to do interviewing. I know how to manage people. And I know how to get the outcomes that we'll need for the city.
Okay, thank you. Mark Pershela.
The biggest thing we need from the new city manager is a strong person who will stand up for city staff and will stand up for our form of government. The problem has been with elected, who have just tramped all over city staff prerogatives, tried to micromanage them, and the city manager needs to stand up to that, but the elected also must respect our form of government. So we just need that strong person. We need somebody who understands municipal government. We need somebody who understands how to work with people, how to give the feedback to staff. But it's a city manager that's going to run the day-to-day stuff and not the elected.
Okay, thank you very much. That now concludes our session. It sounds like you want to give them a round of applause. Please feel free to do so. Yes. And in addition to the final statement. Okay. Yes, we can't give them applause before we get to the final statement. Okay, so we will do that. So let us do this first. Don't get too excited. We did applause for you, but we're still listening to this answer. So we're going to go into our final statement, and this, of course, will last for 1 minute. And let us start with how we started. Ms. Ashton, please, if you can give your final statement.
Thank you. My name is Monique Ashton, and it's been a tremendous honor to serve as your council member for the last 4 years. I've also been a community advocate and leader for 14 years, and I've served as someone who's been a cluster coordinator in your schools, representing the schools that many of your family members have attended. I'm the president of the Maryland Municipal League Montgomery chapter. They have delivered results and brought real money back to the city, but I've also worked with other governments to understand what's possible, to look at best practices and to bring opportunities for the city. I'm also a fellow at the UMD Academy for Excellence in Governing. I'm a proven business executive. I serve as executive vice president at a global company, and I'm also a community leader with a passion for service and innovative problem solving. I've helped launch businesses in the very sectors that we're trying to grow here in Rockville, and I've leveraged that experience to deliver results. Today, I ask for your vote as mayor. I will continue to work to make Rockville an even better place to live, work, and raise a family. For me, it's not theoretical. We do need to make policies and build consensus and relationships that bring funding and opportunity back to the city, but we also need to get out there with our residents and to do the work to make sure that their lived experience is protected and supported.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go on to Mark Pershela.
I am by far the most senior, the most experienced, and most successful person running for mayor. I have served for 12 years. It's not just length of service, it's strength of service. I have taken on the powerful in order to promote those who don't have power. I've done that time and again. On affordable housing, for example, I have an extraordinary record. I will represent Rockville and all communities. We need a sense of urgency for our town center. There's a town center master plan now, process going on now only because I insisted on it. Mayor and council need to return to their proper role of directing policy and leave day-to-day operations to city staff. I will continue to support our police. A secure city is a city that can prosper. I will look forward to working with the new council where together we will build consensus. Now, I'm going to throw an idea out at all of the candidates. I would like to propose that we have one post-election party for all candidates and their supporters, and that all be in the same room, and that way we are celebrating Rockville. Some will win, some will lose. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we can really give them the round of applause that they deserve. Okay. All right. But before we close out, we do have our candidates here who will remain. They are very excited to speak with you. If those candidates can please, city council candidates can please raise their hand. I know you're sprinkled different parts in our audience there. Okay, some in the back, some in the middle, some on their side. They're everywhere, right? So please feel free to speak with them. We hope you enjoyed this forum. Did you enjoy the forum? Yes, okay, very good, very good. Be sure to check the City of Rockville website. Special thanks goes to our electoral candidates, the league, you, the audience. Okay, thank you, Rockville Senior Center, as well as everyone's support and participation. Thanks so much. We look forward to seeing you at the polls November the 7th. Bye-bye. Okay.